Hi there. Welcome back to the Pearlcast. My name is Christopher. I am Flannel Purls, and today we're trying something a little bit new, something a little different, but also something familiar. I have to start by saying thank you. I was so completely overwhelmed. The response that I received to the last video was unexpected. I thought that I was going to send that out into the world and I was going to get some mild applause, maybe a pat on the head, a bit of a good job, but the response that I have received, the kindness that you have shown me and the welcome has just been, honestly, in a word, it's been overwhelming. And I appreciate it more than I can say. What moved me more than anything was how much the latter half of the video resonated with so many people. Because maybe you're like me and you don't have a crafting circle of your own. But maybe you just don't realize that you do, which is everybody. We're all a part of this international crafting community. Every single time you pick up your craft, you are participating in that circle. You're sitting down at the table where there's always a seat for you. And so today, that's all I want to do. I just want to spend some time crafting because maybe you're like me and you just moved and you are far from your family. Or you've not had the chance to make new friends yet. Or maybe you have friends, but they don't craft. And so they don't share this magic. They don't have the ability to do that. Maybe what you need more than anything is a reason to just stop and take a break and focus on yourself for just a moment of time. To give yourself the permission to dedicate and invest your energy into things that bring you joy, to provide yourself a respite from everything that is happening, from the absolute chaos that is constantly going on in the world around us. Maybe that's what you need. And so I want to invite you. I want to invite you to come back into this space, this place that is made for friends, where there is always a seat at the table for you. And let's just do some craft. No matter what you're working on, I'm gonna knit. That's what I'm gonna do. But maybe you crochet. Perhaps you do some needlepoint. I had one person that told me that they were watercoloring while watching the video, which, that's so cool. That's so cool to me. You wanna talk about one thing that I have no skill or talent for, and even less knowledge than either of those two. So maybe you're painting or you're drawing, maybe you're modeling something out of clay or whittling out of wood. Doesn't matter. We are all crafters here. So whatever it is, go ahead and pause the video, pick it up, get it together, and join us at the table when you're ready. All right? I'm gonna play a little bit of quiet music because you know how much I like that. And I'm just gonna get my knitting started. I'm working on my Awen sweater. If you watched the last video, you know that that was something that I was just starting in the last one. I've actually made quite a fair bit of distance here. I am up to the elbow, just about, on the sleeve. Look at that, if it'll behave. There we go. I am just about up to the sleeve, or up to the elbow on the sleeve. I'm doing both at the same time, which is not nearly as difficult as I thought it was going to be. I really thought that it was going to be a challenge. I thought it was going to get all tangled up on top of itself, all wound up. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But you can always unwind it, right? Wherever you are, I hope that you have had an absolutely fantastic day. Or if it's the morning, that you had a great night of sleep. It's been a very warm one here today. We are getting into those last sort of yawning days of summer, just past the dog days. Right before the shadows start to grow in length. Still warm, quite humid too. When I was a kid, these were always my favorite days. Just before school started. When it was still warm outside, so I could still go outside and play. Staying light pretty far into the nighttime. But not so hot as July. Right up there into September, starting to cool off. I grew up really rural, kind of out, not necessarily in the middle of nowhere, but in a time and a place when playing in the street was still very much a thing. And so this time of year before school started and everything sort of became chaos, we got to spend so much time just riding our bikes around, playing with the neighbors. It was always a magical part of the summer. As an adult, I love it because it's when the cicadas show up, which I love very much. I love cicadas. Maybe after this, I'll go outside and take my microphone and maybe I'll record a little bit of the cicadas and lay that over the top of this. When I first started working on these, I could not figure out how to keep these two yarn cakes from tangling up on top of one another as I swapped from one sleeve to the next. It was like every time I looked down, they were all twisted up on top of themselves, just impossibly. I finally figured it out. It took me about 4 days to figure out, well, Christopher, when you twist one way to work on the next sleeve, you just twist twist it back the other way to work on the other one. So you half cross it and then you uncross it. Do you ever do that? Like, you spend so much time being frustrated with something, and then you realize that the simplest solution was just staring in front of you the whole time. You all have inspired me so much with the comments that you left on the last video that I've already started working on the next one. If you watched, you know that I went to a fiber festival in Michigan. I had never been to Michigan, so that was already very exciting. But on top of that, I got to go to my very first fiber festival. It was such an incredible experience to be surrounded by so many people who share a passion that you have. I met so many fantastic people, and more than anything, I got to pet so many little sheep and goats and rabbits. Oh, that was the best part. I should have stayed 2 days. I should have stayed 2 days so that I could spend more time with the animals. That was my one mistake. I got more than enough fiber. I did not need to stay to buy more fiber. But I could have spent more time with those sheep. Does anyone else struggle with increases? Oh, I'm trying to do a make one left purl and getting my yarn up under the back of that gives me so much anxiety every time. I don't know why I'm worried. If it pops off the needle, it pops off the needle. It's not that big of a deal, but oh, those increases, they just get me every time. I'm not sure where you're at right now, where in the world you might be, but I'm based out of northern Illinois, just underneath the Wisconsin border. And I try very hard to live seasonally. I like to respect and appreciate the season that I'm in and not jump into the next one too quickly. Really giving each season its opportunity and its time. But there's something about autumn. It is a tantalizing fruit that is just begging to be bitten. And I just can't get enough of it. And I can feel it just around the corner. There is a serviceberry tree just outside my window. In some parts of the world, I think that it's called a Saskatoon tree, Saskatoon berry. And its leaves are already starting to change. It usually has these really rich, emerald-colored, flat, spade-shaped leaves. This morning, while I was outside, feeding Howl, some of you asked that I give an update on Howl. If you don't follow me on Instagram, we recently were adopted by a stray cat. This beautiful black cat with a white medallion on her chest showed up one day in the latter part of July and just decided that this is where she lives now. So she's our little porch panther. But I was outside with Howl, and I noticed that the leaves are starting to change on the serviceberry tree. They've moved from that really rich, beautiful emerald color to gold. Not all of them, just a few. It seems so early for that, but I am not in the business of telling anything what it can and can't do. So if it wants to change its leaves this early in the season, I say go ahead and do it. Go ahead. I think my favorite part of this is that you get to see me make all of these mistakes and then undo them. It's not perfect, right? Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes progress. Really, isn't that all craft is just one long exercise in progress? No one is ever perfect. They're just improving. That's probably my favorite part about crafting, is that nothing is ever, almost ever, unfixable. You can almost always find a way to turn a setback into a leap forward. And I like that. All right, let's see if I can remember this. Okay, so if I twisted it that way. Oh no. There we go. I have enjoyed making this pattern so much. It has been an absolute treat so far. I say so far, but I have to assume that it will continue being so. The pattern is very meditative. It repeats upon itself in a really easy to remember way, which I love patterns like that. I like patterns that can just sit down and relax while you work. You can reference them every now and then if you need to, but it doesn't require constant attention. One thing I did learn is that I had to print this out. I thought that I was going to be terribly clever and just leave the pattern on my tablet. I figured, oh, no big deal. If I need another chart, I'll just slide up. I'll take a look at it and I'll slide back down and everything will be fine. Up to this point, I've only ever made simple cabling charts where there's just the one cabling chart. And so I just set it on my tablet and just let it be there. It was no problem. This is my first time with multiple charts to pay attention to at the same time. Oh, so I had to figure out if I even owned a printer. Turns out I do. Turns out there was also still ink in it. And the ink was good. The one thing I didn't have was paper. I had to go get paper. But I actually find it really nice. I just sit on the couch with my feet up just a little bit, and the pattern just sits there right on my legs. It's nice. Where do you craft? Do you need to sit at a table to do yours? Or do you sit on a couch, an easy chair? I know one person who exclusively sits on the floor. That's how they do it. They're a spinner. And in order to spin comfortably for their back and their shoulders, they have to do so on the floor. And instead of drafting in front of them, they draft across their body. And it's easiest to do it while sitting on the floor. Crafting really is where there is a will, there's a way. That is why I feel so firmly that crafting is for everybody and for every body. There should be no exclusions. Don't know if you can hear them, but the cicadas just started singing. The sun is setting outside, and so they're coming out. we're in a new place. We moved this summer, and the whole property is surrounded by maple trees and oak trees, which, with my autumn-centered mind, obviously I'm very, very excited about that, because I think we all know how beautiful that's going to be. And so I wonder, do you have any traditions for the autumn? What are you excited about? Is there something that you make that you can't wait to make, or something that you eat that is super exciting? I would love to know. I'm always looking to expand my traditional repertoire of autumnal delights. For me, it comes in 3 stages. September is all about apples, because that's when they are most in season. And then October is all about pumpkins. November is all about sweet potatoes, because I grew up a Southern boy, and we believe in the sweet potato. We believe that anything a pumpkin can do, a sweet potato can do better. No offense to the humble pumpkin. I love you very much. Oh, I feel like I'm suddenly going to elicit so much response from that. I am not disparaging the pumpkin, I promise. But it comes in waves, and so apple season for me is just around the corner. And I have this one cake that I love more than any other. That is a chai spice pound cake that has caramelized Granny Smith apples in it. Oh. Even just saying that, I can't wait. I'm very seasonal, and so I only make it in the fall. But that time is coming. It's right around the corner. The other night, we were sitting out by the fire pit. We built a fire pit in the backyard. I said that I absolutely had to have one. It was a non-negotiable. And we were sitting out there. It was just one of those wonderfully beautiful, magical moments that happen in the summer, where it wasn't too hot. There was a little bit of a bite in the air, but not so much that you would need like a sweater or something like that. Cool enough that having a fire felt appropriate. And just listening to the crickets sing. Howl was lying nearby. And just listening to the crackle of the wood as it sent sparks flying upward. There was just a beautiful simplicity to it that moved me, made me really appreciate where I am. And sometimes that's hard, particularly when you've moved to a new place like I have. The homesickness sets in and you start thinking about all of the places that you miss and the people that you don't get to see anymore. For us, it's restaurants. There's so much food in Chicago, so much good food that we miss all of our little family-owned places that we went to for over a decade. And it's very easy to get lost in the melancholy of that situation, that sort of sinking feeling that you made a mistake, that you're not in the right place. And then every now and then, you just get these gentle reminders that every story ends good. And if it's not good, that just means the story's not over yet. So if you're like me and you have had a hard summer, I hope you remember that. And I hope you know that you've got at least one person who is pulling through for you. I want to thank you for being willing to sit with me and be a part of my crafting circle, my group of international crafting friends. may seem maybe a little bit cliche, perhaps, but I am so truly grateful to have met so many of you, because I don't really have anything like this in my life, and so getting to share this time with you is extremely special to me. And I just appreciate that you're willing to come along. I told myself in the last video that the next time I do this, I was going to get some better lighting. This dark yarn in this dim room. I've got weak eyes. Every now and then I have to get right up in those stitches so that I can see what they are. I know so many crafters usually have multiple projects lined up at one time. So, while you're working on this one, I know that you're dreaming of another one. I know that you are. So what's that? What is it? What's the next one? Are you going to work on a whip that you already have in process? I guess that's redundant, isn't it? Are you going to work on another whip? Or are you going to cast something new on? For me, I really want to finish those mini plee socks that I showed in my last episode. They're sitting there looking very forlorn and abandoned, watching me put all of this work into this sweater. And I just want to tell them, no, I'm coming back, I'm coming back. You'll have to forgive me if you're watching. To the person who told me that I should make both of the sleeves at the same time, because it would get me familiar with the cable pattern and also make sure that both of them are the same gauge, that was a great piece of advice. Really wonderful. Thank you for the suggestion. I think I'll probably do that again. The next time I have to do a seamed sweater where the sleeves are made separate. It was a really good experience, or it has been so far. One of the greatest things I think I've learned is how to do cables without an extra needle. My goodness, the amount of time that it saves. I used to use a cabling needle. I would keep it in the corner of my mouth. So unsanitary, but I would keep it in the corner of my mouth. I'd knit, 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 pull it out, slip, knit, knit, slip, nip, knit. And it's just back and forth, and the amount of time that it saves. Not to mention the fact that now I don't have to be fearful that I would lose it. It's so small. I lived with so much anxiety that this very precious, tiny piece of wood would get lost. And then how would I do cables? But now I don't worry about that. What was a skill that you recently learned that really made you feel like, yeah, I did it. I did it. I finally figured this out and feel so accomplished. Was it color work? For me, that was a big one. Cabling without a cable needle? Or maybe there's something else. I'm only talking about knitting. What is it in your particular craft that made you feel so accomplished? Like you stretched yourself, you challenged yourself, and you did something new. And you tried, and maybe you failed a few times, but you just kept coming back to it, refusing to give up. I'd love to know. I love hearing stories about people challenging themselves and trying really hard. I think that we oftentimes prioritize the value of success, and we put so much value on whether or not you accomplished a goal, instead of asking, but how much effort did it take? How much time? Not that you have to have struggle, but I think that there's value in trying, and there's value in doing new things and not being good at it immediately, and not letting that frighten you. Coming back to do it again. I always say that the bravest person is the one who is not afraid to be seen trying in public. And I stand by that. And I think this is going to be my last row. But just because I'm done for the night does not mean that you have to be. You can keep on going for as long as you'd like. If you're just starting your day, I hope that it's a really great one ahead, and that it's filled with good feelings, and more than anything, I hope that it's filled with ease. I really do. That's the thing that I ask for most every single day, is I'd just love it if today could be a little bit easier than yesterday. And if you're ending your day, then I wish the same for you, but for tomorrow. And that you sleep easy tonight. And that you wake up tomorrow feeling rested. That you wake up feeling safe. And that the day in front of you is a little bit easier than today. All right. Okay. Well, that's going to be my last stitch tonight. I got all the way through one of my repeats, which is great. Oh, I am just loving the way that this looks. Just going to show you a little close-up maybe. Oh, I just think it's lovely. And I think I'm just up to the elbow now. Yep. Like I said, just because I'm stopping doesn't mean that you have to. Please feel free to keep on going for as long as you can, as long as it makes you happy. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. This was such a pleasure. This, again, this is a space for friends. It's a space for anyone who needs a seat at the table, who needs a place to come, a respite from the world around us. And so anytime you need that, I'll be here. My name is Christopher. I am Flannel and Purls, and I'll see you next time.